Can I answer anything that you may have?
What's your marching orders for your new flood zone, Mayor?
Hi.
What's your marching orders for your new flood zone?
Essentially, will be the person responsible for coming up with strategies and policies to mitigate flooding. Will be collaborating. Do I have my notes with me? I'm going to do my presentation. I don't know. But collaborating with all of the various stakeholders, TxDOT, the county, the Flood Control District, the U.S. Corps of Engineers, TERS, developers, the super neighborhoods, reviewing policies and ordinances that currently exist with the City of Houston that may need to be tweaked when it comes to even maybe permitting, development, to take a look at all of those elements that may impact on flooding and to come up with some definitive plans, short-term and long-term, on ways to mitigate the risk of flooding. And right now that those flooding is kind of dispersed in a number of different areas, planning, public works, you name it. So this is the person who has the sole responsibility, the Chief Resilience Officer, who has the sole responsibility of coming up with strategies for the city to mitigate the risk of flood, who will report directly to me.
Is this like a full-time job, or are you paying him $1 a
This
year?
is a full-time position. Yes.
Do you have a first task or a first priority?
Essentially, you know, with Steve already being an engineer and quite frankly being familiar with it, he and I will sit down and we'll kind of map out what the initial steps would be. But for me, it's to come up with short-term as well as long-term. There are some things that's going to take a long period of time, but then anything that we can do to provide some immediate benefit that could reduce the risk, and I want him to provide me details on that. So short-term as well as long-term.
What
Okay.
city resources are currently allocated toward flood mitigation, financial resources, and do you plan to put additional dollars into these flood mitigation efforts with the new flood zone?
Well, this person, of course, this is a new position, okay? And I will tell you, there are some things that are in work where there possibly may be some grant funding. So I've been having some conversations with some others out there, and we are trying to finalize the details of that. So there's a probability, for example, that this position will be paid for through grant funding. But that decision won't be made until May 25th. Okay. So, and I've been talking with another organization as it relates to this particular issue. So we'll see what develops there. That could reduce the city's cost for this particular position significantly.
And what's the projected salary for this position?
Let Steve and I continue to talk on that. Okay.
You haven't decided yet if you retake the job study?
We have some general. We're talking ranges. We shall see. But we will finalize things. But he is on board. I mean, he is squarely on board. I think in large part, let's put it this way: to the extent the grant funding comes through, then it will take care of itself.
So what can we expect from the budget that you plan to propose on May 10th?
Essentially what I've indicated today, it will eliminate 54 permanent positions, about 40 active employees will be laid off. It will be a reduction from the 2016 budget to the 2017 budget by $82 million cut. So there's $82 million worth of reductions. When you look at the city departments, we reduce the expenditures from the city departments by about $25 million. We have to make up that amount. It maintains a healthy fund balance of 9.2%. We are legally obligated to have a 7.5%, but it maintains a 9.2. There's a reduction in the City Council District Service Fund. There's a reduction there. TERS are giving more to offset the additional cost within their geographical area. So there's about $20 million coming from the TERS returning to the city of Houston. That's for this year and for every other year, so it's not just a one-time deal. There are no significant reductions to parks and libraries. And there is an added police cadet class, so we go from 4 to 5. And as I indicated earlier, with that, the number of police officers is starting to tick up instead of going down. So I'm very pleased with that. I mean, those are some of the highlights. We do some refinancing of city's debt. The savings from doing that is about $32 million. So that's a plus. So you have some recurring and non-recurring items that are in the budget. But it eliminates a budgetary shortfall of about $160 million. So it does balance. The proposal that I put forward does balance, and getting pretty good responses from members of City Council.
Mayor Turner, regarding that $160 million worst case scenario, which
Right.
Is there an oil price that's baked into that, and if so, what is that? And regarding the collapse of energy prices, how concerned are you that the situation in Houston could get much worse, depending on what happens with prices over the next year or so? And lastly, on that subject, is Houston today still too reliant on the energy industry for its revenue stream? And what can be done more to move away from that?
Okay.
That is something you're interested in?
Let me take the latter part of your statement first. With respect to us being reliant, we are less reliant on oil and gas now than we were in the 1980s. Now we're only about 40% reliant on oil and gas in comparison to being heavily dependent on oil and gas in the 1980s. So that's a plus. We're much more diversified. Medical center, transportation, aviation, construction, petrochemical, arts. So we're much more diversified now. So that's a good thing. And even with the oil market being slow right now, Houston is still slightly on the plus side on job creation. So that's a plus. With regards to the budget itself, the assumptions that I've included in the budget are the worst case scenarios. We assume that the price of oil will be about $19. Okay, I think right now it may be, where is it now?
45.
It's 45. So you see, we've assumed the very worst. So literally the price of oil will have to drop down considerably in order for that 160 number to grow. So we're assuming that it would continue to be $19. So we've taken some very, very conservative worst case scenarios. I think you're looking at a budgetary shortfall at max of about 160. And if, for example, if it's not 160, let's say it's 155 instead of 160, then what I've said to members of City Council is that I would want the overage to go into the fund balance and increase the fund balance from 9.2% or make it higher. And that's important to maintain a positive outlook for the credit rating agencies. And let me just say on that note, because it has not been reported, I hope y'all will report it. We've heard a lot about Moody and S&P, but I have not seen any mention of Fitch. Fitch maintained our credit rating at AA. So the Fitch, and they pointed to the fact what they have seen, the budget that we're putting forward, the discussions that we have had with them have all been pluses. So Moody and S&P downgraded us, but Fitch maintained us at the AAA level.
And one follow-up question, thank you very much for that. With regard to the job situation, especially in the energy sector, there's some concern that the cuts that we've already seen are nowhere near the cuts that we may see over the next 6 to 12 months, that there's obviously a lag time between when cuts are made and situations require cuts. And so how concerned are you regarding that situation? What might you have to do to change your plan?
I hope we won't have many more layoffs. That's my hope. I will tell you that our fiscal year ends the end of June. So next month, I know our fiscal year ends, and we pick up on a new fiscal year as of July 1. So I don't foresee much that will happen in this month or next month that's going to significantly change. I will look for in preparation for the 2017 cycle. So I think we'll be okay. I think with the forecast that we've made and the fact that we've been very conservative in our assumptions, I think we've planned for the worst.
Mayor, you mentioned an upcoming announcement regarding the use of police department and moving
Yes.
175 officers onto the streets.
Yes.
Is that the same plan that's been reported and is tied to the closing of the investigative patrol
Yes.
unit?
Yes.
Or are there additional announcements?
I think that pretty much is it. I read the story. If it came from Chief Montalvo, then yes, that's the 175 that we plan to put on the streets fairly immediately. You have to make some choices about needing more police on the street or having them someplace else. And I think for right now, I think it's important to have police officers on the streets, patrolling the streets of the city of Houston. I think that's a priority. There was conversation about that around the city council table today. The chairman of public safety, Councilman Brenda Stoddard, pretty much echoed that sentiment without me even talking to her. So I've made the decision that we need more police officers on the street. Number one, we need more police officers on the force. And so we're working to increase the number of police officers on the force. We're doing that. But in the short term, we need more police officers on the street. So we're moving them from behind the desk, in this case, and putting them on patrol. I think that's very important. Number two, I'm not laying off any civilians in the police department, because when you lay civilians off, you have to backfill them with police. So I'm not laying off any police, and I'm not laying off any civilians. And then we're increasing the number of cadet classes. As we have increased the number of police officers, you can go back to putting more where these 175 are coming from. But for right now, and making sure that we don't lose, that we don't have a more unsafe situation on the streets of the city of Houston, I think it's important, critically important, to have more people, more police available to respond much sooner and patrolling the streets of the city of Houston, neighborhoods, business community, what have you. I think it's a priority.
And Houston in the past has had some trouble filling its cadet classes. How do you aim to do that and make sure that these classes are filled?
Well, thus far, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good. I just spoke at a graduation, I want to say last week. I think there were about 64 that was in that cadet class. I mean, we'll continue to do what we have to do to get a full complement of cadets. I'll be in constant communication with Chief Montalvo, but we'll wait for the best. So we need to incentivize, get more. We'll look at doing that.
Mayor Turner, the fire inspection fund in the past has not had an obligation to meet and confer, and that's caused problems, as you know. Are they now voluntarily meeting with you about this? And this part of it? And,
Yes. Yes. All of the employee. Thank you. All the employee groups are meeting with me, and I've met with all of us, and the conversations have been productive. And are moving in a positive direction. We're not where we need to be, but we're certainly not where we started. So, and in comparison to the past, they have moved from positions that they have never moved from in before. So it's as I indicated in the speech, I'm under no illusions. It's not going to be easy to get there, but we'll work through it. But up to now, there have been positive steps, And again, the timeline is to try to get things completed or to reach an agreement by the end of the year, and let's see if we can get there.
And then when would you do the rep cap,
Assuming we reach an agreement and it's passed by the legislature, and the unfunded pension issue is no longer an issue. Then I would ask people in the city of Houston Houstonians to remove the rev cap in November of 2017. Not this November, but next November.
And would that necessarily mean or prelude an increase in property taxes?
Well, I mean, you can describe it however you want to. I think when you look at Moody, Fitch, and S&P, they criticize the unfunded pension obligations and they criticize the revenue cap. And then bear in mind, with the revenue cap, I mean, we're not increasing the property tax rate. We are forced to lower the property tax rate. So we are lowering the property tax rate. So it depends on how people want to characterize it. No one is trying to increase their property taxes. But if the property tax rate is at X and members of city council are not trying to increase it to X plus 1, but you're forced to lower it, then what are we saying? And quite frankly, I think people want more police. They want to be secure. I think they want quality parks. They want green space. I mean, there are many, many things, transportation needs, many, many things that people want. And we need to continue to be competitive, not only with cities in the state of Texas, but cities across the globe. So I'm not advocating a property tax increase. I'm simply saying remove an arbitrary cap that's placed on us. And we're the only governmental entity in the state of Texas, as far as I know, that is operating with the same type of revenue cap.
I guess what I mean is without that cap, it will mean that the rate aside, the amount of property taxes in aggregate that Houstonians pay, some may eventually pay more than currently pay.
Well, the only thing I would say to you is that I'm asking Houstonians to take heed of what S&P, Moody, and Fitch say. If, for example, if people are using those credit rating agencies to criticize, for example, the unfunded pension obligations, they don't just stop with pensions. They also include the revenue cap. I'm asking Houstonians to recognize the criticism of the credit rating agencies and to remove the criticism. And then I'll let you characterize it however you want to characterize it. Okay? But you can't use it on one hand when it fits you, people's purposes, and ignore it on the other hand. I'm simply saying, whatever the criticisms are in the credit rating agency's report, then cities should address those criticisms. And then I'll let people draw their own conclusions as to what that means.
Mayor, unrelated, have you heard about this Hoffheinz lawsuit at your alma mater? Hoffheinz lawsuit at your alma mater about renaming the Hoffheinz Pavilion. The family had filed a lawsuit at University of Houston. I don't know if you've heard about it.
It was filed, Mayor, you haven't heard about it. I just thought.
I mean,
I was just wondering if you heard about it.
What are they doing?
I think the University of Houston has a $20 million anonymous donor who wants to fix Hoffheinz Pavilion. So as part of that, they want to rename the pavilion. And obviously, the family of the late judge has filed a lawsuit. It just happened while you were giving your speech, saying that they would, they're against it and they want to keep the name Hoffheinz Pavilion.
Oh. I'm a cougar. It was Hoffheinz when I was there. Should I wade into that water? I'm a cougar, you know. I lived in the Moody Towers. I went to the Hoffheinz, you know. There's something in the name. And I'll leave it just like that.
Mayor, you talked about, asking tourist boards to give a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you foresee yourself maybe asking communities where you have a limited purpose annexation deal with to give a little bit more?
No, I think with the people that we've already talked to, engaging in shared sacrifice, we're able to meet the budgetary shortfall that is before us. I'm not trying to do more than what we need to do. And quite frankly, there may be some give and take even in the budget proposal that I put forward. It's a proposal, and at the end, some things may stay in, some things may come out. But it's a delicate balance. I hope there won't be too many adjustments to the proposed budget. But what I've said, if members of the City Council, for example, can come up with something better on a particular item that will still balance the budget, then I'm willing to work with them on it. So, but I think what I presented, I think is pretty good. But we're having productive and constructive conversation with members of City Council. I think that the process will go relatively smoothly. We shall see. But the members of City Council have been very constructive in their observations. Okay. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.